Hello my strawberry shortcakes, welcome to this video. I hope you're doing really well, and in this video I'm going to be telling you all of the revision apps and websites that I think are so helpful, pretty much essential if you're wanting to get those A stars, those A's in your A levels. I did biology, geography and chemistry, and I got an A star in biology and geography and then an A in chemistry, so I can definitely vouch for the ones I'm about to talk to you about. So firstly, I want to start off with like the holy trinity, right? And that is Notion, Physics Maths Tutor and Anki. And so I'll like talk about each one individually and then how I use them linked together. So Notion is this web page. It's also an app that you can download and it's so helpful. It's kind of like Google Docs, but I like how you can access it on a website, and I really like the formatting of it as well. It's really easy to use once you understand how to, and I have a video on how I use Notion for school. It's really useful for organizing things, for making to-do lists. Also, I put my notes on there. So it kind of sounds a little bit confusing, but I have proper flashcards on Anki, which I'll get to later in the video. But then I also have my notes written almost as flashcards on Notion, because Notion has this feature called like toggles, where you can have like the question, you can press the toggle and then it reveals an answer. So that's how I've written my notes in a way, because it's also easier for me to find the sections and the topics I'm looking for, because it's like all condensed, because it's all as toggles, and I can just easily skip to that and then reveal the part of the information that I'm looking for. So Notion is super duper handy. I would really recommend using that. And then Physics and Maths Tutor is where you will find your past papers, and kind of more importantly, they have question packs, which is so useful, particularly for STEM. For humanities, I think what's great about me doing STEM and humanities is that I can give you advice for both aspects, because they're quite different in terms of how you would revise for it and how you would be able to like achieve the top grades in them. So for STEM, these question packs, you need to be doing them before topic tests, before your actual exam. They are the most useful way of revising, because at the end of the day each exam is just made up of questions, right? But with STEM you get it broken down into lots of like smaller mark questions, whereas with humanities like geography, if you've got like a 24 marker, the most efficient and effective way to revise a humanities subject, in my opinion, is not to do as many questions as possible. It's about memorizing the information and forming links in your head of how you can argue certain points and perspectives, and remembering dates and statistics, things like that. Whereas with STEM, it's doing questions over and over again for each topic, so that you get this really comprehensive understanding of the subject, of how you can be assessed on the topic. And also questions repeat a lot, like calculation questions, for example, in chemistry, your 5 mark like time of flight calculations. Once you do a couple of those questions, you basically know how to do any question that comes up like that, and every year you're pretty much guaranteed to get 1 in your A level, except our year. We didn't get 1 in our year, strangely. So that's why Physics and Maths Tutor, for their question packs, and also it's organized quite nicely as well, which is great. I will say Physics and Maths Tutor also has their version of like notes. I personally didn't use them. I don't know many people. So I went to a very good state grammar school. I don't know anyone who used Physics and Maths Tutor notes, except one of my friends did for geography. But for STEM, I wouldn't recommend, just because it's so wordy. Like they add so much extra unnecessary information, and I think the way that they phrase things just seems really long and pedantic. For humanities, it kind of works, because humanities is like, it is wordier. Like you don't have to just memorize certain keywords to get the marks. Like humanities, you can yap, and oftentimes they want you to yap. So in that case, like I think Physics and Maths Tutor for humanities, and like for geography, when I say humanities, because that's my experience, they have a lot of profile like fact sheets for certain case studies. So if your teachers are not very good and you don't really have that many case studies for certain points in the spec, I would definitely recommend going to Physics and Maths Tutor and borrowing some of theirs because they've already got all the information as well. So now the third part in the Holy Trinity is Anki. Anki is a flashcard app where you make flashcards, and it has an inbuilt space repetition system, which is super duper handy because it means, and this is the thing, for GCSEs I use paper flashcards because it wasn't that serious, and if I forgot to do a pack of flashcards it was fine because it wasn't that much information anyway, I could just memorize it. For A-levels, the amount of content that you have to memorize is so much greater that you really need to be doing space repetition properly, and so Anki is really great for that because it will tell you based on how difficult you said that you found the last time that you did that deck of flashcards. It will automatically adjust time in between your like reviews of the flashcards depending on how difficult you found it, which is really handy. And it's quite easy to make the flashcards as well. I have a video on that too. I also have a video on how to make Notion flashcard notes, but Anki, you can also arrange it and organize it into your different subjects, and so I would really recommend Anki or anything similar because Anki is quite ugly so at times it's a little bit demotivating, but one of the things that I did that genuinely like helped keep me more sane and enjoy my Anki flashcards is I would take screenshots of like memes and like funny videos and stuff that I saw on Reels, and I would just like keyboard smash like for the question part so that it wouldn't come up as a repeat, because that like flags up, and then I would put that screenshot in the answer. So every now and then when I was doing my flashcards, I'd just see this like really goofy meme come up, and it would help me look forward to doing Anki more. You know, it's like adding those little boosts of motivation when you're studying that really helps you enjoy revision more for A-levels. And now this is how I kind of use them all together. So Notion, right, I've got my biology, geography, chemistry notes written as toggle flashcards. Also, that helps with active recall, which is so important because passive learning, as I'm sure you'll know if you watch other YouTube videos as well, passive learning is the least effective. It wastes your time. There's no point doing it. You need to be doing active recall where you can remember the actual information based on a prompt, based on a question. So that's why the toggles are also really helpful as well. And also, sorry, side random like point as well, I would do my Anki flashcards as often as I could, like to try and keep track of it, but I would basically use that as my main revision resource. But I would then, before a topic test, maybe like a couple of days before the topic test, like 3 days, I would go through the Notion like comprehensive notes flashcards and just go through all of them and like until I could get all of them right, basically. So that was like my last minute revision. Obviously before like my year 12 mocks, my A-levels, I did those more than 3 days in advance, but I basically went off of Anki flashcards the most and then had Notion to like plug those gaps, because biology and chemistry, I feel like with Anki I basically covered most of the topic. It was just the small parts because your questions will like naturally cover most of the topics and stuff, right? But obviously it can't cover everything, so just to be safe and sure, I would also go over my Notion stuff right before the topic test. But anyway, so for Anki, the way that I made the flashcards was I would take screenshots of the questions in the physics maths tutor question packs, and I would have those as my questions and answers, and so that meant that my answers were also the exact mark scheme, which is what you kind of need to be memorizing more, because it's like working smarter, not harder. You don't need to memorize an entire explanation, like 7-step process, if you only really need 4 marking points, and each marking point is like a couple words. Like especially for biology, it's very much like keywords that you need to memorize, right? So that is how I would make my STEM flashcards on Anki. For humanities, I did have to copy and paste my entire Notion like flashcards toggles into Anki. So it was very fiddly, very time consuming. But like in geography, I got 299 out of 350. My paper 3, I did that on 3.5 hours of sleep, and yeah, so it paid off in the end. My Notion was made up of using the spec from the exam board for that subject. So I would go through the spec and I would literally copy and paste the points in the spec that it said that you need to know and reframe them as questions, and then have the answers based off of what I had learned in class or like question booklets, and then use that to answer the questions, making sure to have specific keywords if that was important, as it is for biology and chemistry. Less so for geography, but for geography it was a lot more time consuming because the spec, it leaves a lot of room for like interpretation almost. Like you can write so much as an answer for each question, so it's kind of like, how much effort do you want to put in? Like what grade are you aspiring to get in humanity? Because you could just keep revising, keep learning, but you obviously need to have a limit as to how much time you spend, because you have other subjects as well, and you also need to balance your social life. Like I could have spent ages going into the nitty-gritty of like geography statistics and case studies and the history of like different policies, but obviously like I'm not going to. So that is how I made my Notion flashcards, which then influenced how I made my Anki flashcards. So those holy trinity, that was a lot of yap, sorry, but hopefully that helped a lot. Next, I want to talk about forest flora and then my personal favorite alternative. So I'm sure many of you know of the app Flora, which is only for Apple phones. Forest is for Android, but essentially it's like when you're revising, you can set a timer and then you can plant a tree in that time, and you can also have a leaderboard with your friends. Personally, I do not think that is a very good idea, having a leaderboard with friends or just with other random people in like your year, because inevitably people will cheat, and you see like in a week someone having like 35 hours logged, and it's just not proper, because I think it prioritizes time over effort. Like I think 2 hours of proper work every day that you can try and do consistently is so much better than doing 6 hours of quite surface level work, like surface level focus. So that's why I personally do not think having like that leaderboard, because obviously you're going to want to do more and more hours, but it gets to a point where adding on more hours is no longer advantageous. And so having that competition is also demotivating if you're like, oh, I feel like I've done so much work, and then you're like flipping 10th in your leaderboard. So that's why I personally prefer Study Bunny. Study Bunny is this really great app. Oh my god, I wish I could get sponsored. But Study Bunny is an app where you have a bunny and then you can log on the time that you spend working. I think you can actually do a leaderboard with friends, but you need to like pay actual money for that, so obviously I didn't do that. And 10 minutes is equivalent to like 1 coin, and then it has a very extensive shop, which I liked because I used to use Forest, but then I bought all of the trees and it just wasn't fun anymore because I didn't have anything to work towards. Study Bunny, I think it would be impossible to buy everything, so it keeps you motivated. And also when you only log on when you actually do work, because of like the dopamine, the serotonin that you get when you can, like, it's so satisfying being able to buy things from your work. It feels so much better, so much more fun when you revise. Because say for example on Flora, like I remember one of my friends like a while back told me that she put it on when she was like in the shower, and it's like you just don't have that motivation to study anymore if you know that your hours that you've logged in order to get this like sense of achievement are also when you were doing activities that weren't related to studying. So if you make sure you only log on the time, you only log on the activity when you are actually revising, that is so much more helpful. And Study Bunny, like I revised maybe like 3-4 hours a day during A levels, or I tried to at least. And then I remembered Study Bunny existed in the last 2 weeks of A levels, and the day after I got it, it shot up to 8 hours. Like, I did 8 hours a day of like actual revision. So Study Bunny I absolutely love, and I will like try and show a picture of my bunny as well. I love my bunny. Although it's quite sad because I haven't obviously been doing revision in the holidays. In terms of notes and things like that, so there's Save My Exams and Study Mind, which are the ones that I know of that cover multiple subjects. Like, there are specific ones that I've used for biology, chemistry, geography. I'll make videos on them as well, but in terms of like the more broader ones, those are the ones I can think of. Save My Exams is really great. It can be a little bit pedantic sometimes because it's like, oh, this examiner went to Oxford, so they like embellish the information that you need. But I think if you used Save My Exams and then you cross-referenced it with the spec to make sure that you're not learning too much like that you don't need, I would really recommend that. Study Mind is also really helpful. I think at times Save My Exams, it doesn't cover everything. I don't know if it was just I wasn't looking right, but I think I remember for chemistry there would be certain like questions that I had that Save My Exams just didn't seem to cover, or like the explanations didn't actually help me understand what I needed to. So Study Mind had at times a lot more information, or like explain things in a more accessible way. Because I remember going on Study Mind quite a bit for chemistry, so I would recommend those two. Save My Exams, you get like 5 free articles a week, but then other than that you need to pay for a subscription, whereas Study Mind is completely free, I'm pretty sure. Also, the exam board websites, don't neglect those, especially for humanities. You can look at the examiner's report, which is so useful. Like, it's probably one of the best ways, or like the best way, to improve the quality of your essay writing, because you can see how people who got like the top grades, who got the full mark question responses, how they formulate their answers, what topics they would use in their arguments, like how they would structure counter arguments as well. I guess you could also gauge like how well your answers would be assessed in the actual thing as well, because teachers like sometimes could be too strict or too nice. I think like our teachers at my school were definitely on the stricter side, which kind of made me feel better when I didn't get like as high of a mark as I thought, because I would then look at the examiner's report and I'd be like, oh wait, this was actually like a decent answer that I did. So examiner's reports are so useful. Please go look at them. I guess biology, there's like 25 marker as well, so you could look at that. But yeah, using model answers to improve your own writing, really important, because obviously with humanities you don't have a proper mark scheme. And finally, I wish I knew about this earlier, but it's planning your days, weeks, even a month if you're ambitious, in advance, because it's so easy at the start of the year to just kind of stroll through, like you kind of dawdle a bit, you're kind of like nothing's that serious yet. But as someone who regrets kind of feeling that way, I mean, it's not that serious. Like, I got 2 A stars and an A, but like I am kind of pissed about my A, and I do wish I put in a bit more effort at the start of the year. But that's why I can give you guys the advice that I wish that I knew. So you can use Excel, or you can use just like calendar on Notion, or just like a paper calendar. But it's about thinking, what things do I need to get done this month? If you've got an NEA, this will be really useful as well. But it's thinking like, where do I want to be at the end of this month? What past papers do I want to have been able to do? What topics do I want to have been able to understand? Putting in when your topic tests are on the calendar as well, so you know it's not a surprise when it rolls around. And then you can plan what you want to do each day to work towards those goals in a way that isn't overwhelming. So you can go, okay, today I will read this chapter in my textbook and summarize the notes, and then the next day I'll make flashcards from it, and then the day after I'll do those flashcards. But it means that I would recommend having at least a weekly view. A month is the best if you can. And then you can basically have a nice overview of what you need to do each day. Don't put too many things down. But so if you miss a day because mental health matters, you know, like if you're not feeling it for a day, I think that's fine, like that's normal. Please don't burn yourself out, and please don't be too harsh on yourself. Like, I know that discipline is really important, but you should also be able to take a rest day if your body is telling you to, you know. So organize in a way that it isn't too stressful and too much work, because 3 A levels, even 4, even though it's a big step up in terms of work from GCSEs, it's completely manageable. Like, you will always have time to do work as well as balancing a social life, as well as having fun by yourself and things like that. Like, it is completely manageable if you organize your time well. And so that's why I would really recommend having that monthly overview, so that you are prepared as well. You wake up each day and you kind of know what you're meant to do and what will help you feel better when you go to sleep and you think about the day, and it's like, oh, I got these things done, I'm on track, I'm in a nice position to achieve the grades I want to as well. Whew. I have been yapping for so long. I don't know if you can tell, my voice is like kind of fried now, but I hope that it helped you. If so, completely worth it. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see, because this video was a video that someone asked me to make specifically. So I am here for you guys as much as I can help. I hope you're doing really, really well as always. Please do comment, subscribe, like if you enjoy this video and if you found value in it, and good luck for all of your tests, A levels, everything. Remember, you're goated, you'll smash it, and love you lots.